I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is.
And they appear to be the Nagas that were reported in the Hindu scriptures, which again is a reptilian race that, unlike the others, was actually wanting our best good.
Hey everyone, I hope you're having an amazing day. In today's video, we're going to dive into all types of mysterious and strange videos that no one can explain online. Hit that like and subscribe button as we dive through these videos and try to make sense of all this madness.
These lines were made for eyes in the sky. Deep in Peru's desert, the Nazca lines stretch for miles. Monkeys, spiders, hummingbirds. Even the strange figure called the astronaut, created nearly 2,000 years ago by removing dark stones from the desert floor. Why make giant art that can only be seen from above?
Because they had some type of device maybe that they were flying and they could see it. Why else would they make it?
I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is. Eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on? It's just too nuts. It's not enough to say it's nuts. You have to explain why it's so nuts. The systems which are in place to keep the world sane are utterly inadequate to the forces that have been unleashed.
I wonder what he would think now with AI running amok.
Some of the latest stuff that I've been learning from Emery Smith, this guy that worked in a deep underground military base, or D.U.M.B, D-U.M.B, okay, nice acronym, tells us that after a while of these autopsies that he claims he was doing on extraterrestrial specimens. Now, this is a guy I've known for 10 years. He's finally come forward and said, yes, I personally witnessed 3,000 different types of extraterrestrial specimens while I worked for this military covert project. And what he's telling us now in some of the latest tapings that haven't aired yet is that as the project went on, he started to get assistance from extraterrestrial species. There were different types that were helping him. Some of them looked more like us, but they might have larger ears or some unusual, something that's a little bit different. Others looked very different. He had ant people where their heads looked like it was kind of like an ant, but the antlers were stubby. Very similar to what Corey Good has said. Actually identical. He had people that looked like grasshoppers, okay? But then he describes that you're not actually scared around them, even though they have compound eyes, because they're telepathic, and they have a great sense of humor, as it turns out. They're always joking around with you. He actually described that there was a positive reptilian group. This is new. We always thought reptilians were always evil. There's another group that doesn't have vertical slit pupils, where they look kind of more of like a morph between the reptilian type and the human type, and they just have really large kind of roundish eyes that look more like our eyes. And those types are actually very positive. And they appear to be the Nagas that were reported in the Hindu scriptures, which again is a reptilian race that, unlike the others, was actually wanting our best good.
What in the Men in Black is going on here?
It's not really hollow. There are cities underneath the earth, and they've been down there. The people went down there at the fall of Atlantis. There's a whole city. It's got a sun, it's got water, it's got lakes, it's got animals. It's beautiful, and they're more highly advanced than we are. But that is inside of the earth.
And they live thousands of years old, I understand.
Oh, it's been down there since Atlantis.
We are the pyramid builders.
The survivors of Atlantis, some of them went into the hollow earth. The entrances are found underneath the pyramids of the world. They had the entrances to the hollow earth, and the pyramids were built on top of the entrances. This means the one in Egypt, the one in South America, all of anywhere there's a pyramid, there will be an entrance going down into the hollow earth.
Well, that's interesting, because if we pull up those latest LiDAR scans under, what was it? The Giza pyramids, I believe. It looked like a giant elevator under the pyramid leading down to something several miles down. So when they're talking about, You can get to Agartha from under the pyramids. That's extremely interesting. Speaking of pyramids, check out these artifacts in Egypt.
Yes, Tutankhamun's tomb was looted twice before it was discovered by Howard Carter in 1922. I'm not totally surprised that tour guides skip over this fact to emphasize the grandeur of the tomb and all of the objects found inside. But yes, it was looted twice in antiquity, and a decent amount of objects have been lost. Let's talk about it. When Howard Carter excavated down the stairway to the main entrance of the tomb, the wall looked like it was intact, but they quickly noticed that a portion of it had been replastered and resealed. They were obviously very happy when they poked a small hole to peer inside to see the vast treasures of Tutankhamun. But when they began to properly document the tomb, they discovered the destruction of the looters. This is honestly one of the only pictures that I've ever found that actually show where all of the looters' holes were in all of the different entrances of the chambers. Now, the looters originally were only able to enter the antechamber and the annex. This hole was actually created by Howard Carter himself. For the most part, the antechamber was in okay condition, but there were a couple things that were a little bit off. The worst part was actually the annex. The archaeologists found it in an extreme disarray, with these boxes turned over and then stuffed with objects that probably weren't in there originally. Now, we don't really have a lot of examples of a perfectly intact pharaonic tomb, but we can use examples like the tomb of Ka and Meretz in Deir el-Medina, where all of the objects in the tomb were carefully placed and carefully arranged when it was discovered. Here's another picture, as well as a colorized version of the image of the annex and just kind of the general disarray with all of these objects kind of out of the different boxes that were meant to be there. Now, one of the biggest indications that there was a looting is there is a lack of certain objects in this tomb that we would expect to see. And this indicates that these are the pieces that were the most lucrative items for looters to take, as well as the easiest for them to take quickly. These are solid metalwork objects, linen, glass pieces, oils, and unguents, which were not really found in the tomb at all. Many of the chests in the annex are thought to have held Tutankhamun's jewelry, but almost nothing was found in those chests.
I heard they found honey that you could still eat. Ancient Egyptian honey that you could still eat because I guess something in the honey makes it so it never goes bad. Would you try it?
Archaeologists estimate that about 60% of his jewelry is actually missing. Most of what we do have was found on his mummy or in the treasury room, which was never touched by the looters. Some of the craziest examples of the looting are fingerprints inside a couple of the alabaster jars, showing that someone scooped out this material, which is estimated that it could have actually been an opium mixture, though this technically has not been tested yet. The lootings probably took place shortly after his burial, and then after each of the lootings, the priests who would patrol the Valley of the Kings resealed the tomb and stuffed stuff back into boxes. Eventually, workers from Deir el-Medina built temporary huts for them to sleep in the valley overnight on top of the entrance, which helped conceal the tomb from further looters and from early archaeologists. Yes, Tutankhamun's tomb was looted twice before it was discovered by Howard Carter in 1922.
Shout out to Melissa for that interesting fact. It just makes you think, well, what did they take? What was in there? And there's no telling how many more tombs are out there.
Free, unlimited energy for the entire world. They really tried to tell us it wasn't possible. Alright, calm down there, Mr. First Law of Thermodynamics, because we had one of the smartest people in history on the job. It said that Nikola Tesla actually invented a system for free, wireless electricity accessible by everyone on Earth. Turns out, he may not have been the one who came up with it, but was using ancient knowledge over 5,000 years old. Tesla is famously quoted as saying, "If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration." What was he trying to tell us? He has quite the resume. The founder of alternating current, which runs our entire power grid today, and was also a huge advocate of free wireless electricity, which is exactly what his Wardenclyffe Tower project intended to do. A structure that was designed to harness energy from the natural vibrations of the Earth and convert them into electric potential. Exactly what the Giza power plant theory suggests the pyramids were built and used for. Tesla publicly demonstrated his use of wireless electricity by famously lighting light bulbs without any wires attached to them. Wardenclyffe Tower was the scaled up version of that, and millionaire J.P. Morgan saw incredible potential in profiting from Tesla's ideas, so he helped fund the construction of this tower. And just like the pyramids, it was built directly on top of underground aquifers, cavities beneath the surface with powerful flowing water that produced natural vibrations, using copper wires and iron rods extending deep beneath the surface to transmit this energy up through the tower and into the atmosphere, then distribute that energy wirelessly around the world for anyone to use through a conductive layer of Earth's ionosphere. According to him, Earth was a giant electrical generator spinning around two magnetic poles, which it is, and it produces a ton of energy. In the 1897 patent Tesla filed, he claimed that at a certain altitude above the Earth, there's a stratum of air that can conduct electric currents, which at the time was considered wacky pseudoscience, but in 1952 was discovered to actually exist, known as the Schumann resonances. Through this conductive layer of the atmosphere, the electricity would theoretically be distributed around the world via a network of receiving towers. Tesla, along with many eyewitness reports, claimed that the tests of the tower in 1903 were incredibly successful. They lit up the night sky and even powered nearby objects. Newspapers even reported on it, like this: Tesla's amazing plan to harness free currents, back when you could actually report on the news without getting censored. But ask any debunker who wasn't there and they'll tell you these towers didn't produce enough electricity to be useful and were also harmful to anyone near them. In order for this network of wireless energy to work, it would need quite a few of these towers in key locations around the world. When Tesla asked JP for more money to continue his work, Mr. Morgan took a look and realized it wouldn't end well for him if he continued. JP Morgan owned General Electric, AT&T, copper and coal mines, lumber yards, rubber plants, steel mills, railroads, all of which required the consumption of traditional fuels to keep running. If he invested in more of these towers to deliver virtually free energy to everyone in the world, it would render the rest of his businesses obsolete. So he cut off funding and even told his rich friends to ignore this project.
While they're talking about this topic, did you hear that that all these data centers, they may be going nuclear? So that may be something you want to look into, because I believe right now most of the data centers use gas, natural gas, but it sounds like they're trying to do a transition into nuclear. Now, I don't know how safe that is, but it sounds like they need to activate this Schumann resonance, aka the ionosphere, aka this ether up in the air, to be honest with you.
Despite Tesla sending him monthly letters asking for more money for 5 years straight, Tesla lost his funding, the tower was destroyed, and he died relatively poor, having all of his work seized by the government after his death, never to be seen again. And strangely enough, the Government Office of Alien Property was standing by and ready to take a shit as soon as Tesla passed in 1943, raiding his New York City apartment and warehouses, confiscating all documents, some of which were given to a certain John G. Trump. Quite an interesting tale for another time. Skeptics love calling Tesla a mad scientist crackpot, dismissing this theory as pure fiction, but his list of inventions is among the most impressive out of almost anyone in history. Along with his revolutionary experiments, Tesla invented AC electricity, which powers your home, and the electric motor, everything you see here, as well as the remote control, the radio, improvements to the X-ray, and even predicted smartphones and the internet back in 1926. He's quoted as saying, "When wireless is perfectly applied, the whole Earth will be converted into a huge brain. We shall be able to communicate with one another instantly, irrespective of distance." That's exactly what we have today. Pause if you want to read the whole quote, which, may I remind you, is 100 years old. His proposed network of towers would have supplied unlimited, clean, and basically free energy worldwide, using the principles of the Giza power plant theory, which Tesla was actually a firm believer in. He was fascinated by the pyramids of ancient Egypt and even drew inspiration from them in his work, with his devices even being referred to as Tesla's electromagnetic pyramid, based on his designs depicting the movement of energy in his towers. Well, the pyramids are suspected to have been built for the same purpose, drawing vibrational energy from the Earth and distributing it around the world through the atmosphere. Would that have even been possible 5,000 years ago? Turns out it might have, with some even claiming proof as far back as 30,000 years old. I explained exactly how it would have worked back then, and we're not done diving into this one, so check it out for more.
They need to make some airship data centers. Like I see that all these data centers are popping up making these noises. They need to throw them boys on the airship and then have it charging off the ether. That's an idea. If we all get together, we might be able to do something. According to this theory, you could put an airship in the air and never have to come down. You know, if you can grow crops on the airship and it's continuously being charged, you know, you got a perpetual airship. You know, now it makes sense of why they had those giant statues that no one can explain. earlier in this video, you know, why would they make these mile-long art? It was gigantic art for people passing by.
So Einstein was put in by the Rockefellers to get somebody to debunk the ether. You have the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds who own the entire education system throughout the entire world. You know, someone says, I study at a school in this country. It's the same thing that you learn in the other countries. You can see it now today in all the countries where the schooling system is working. During the 1889, there was, I believe it was the Morley experiment, which was debunking the ether. That was the first step. And then secondly, they brought in Einstein, who Einstein was a USPS worker, which is funny. He was a post office worker. And I'm not insulting post office workers, but the fact that this guy became the super genius of all of this and they said all these things and what they do is they put these people in and then these people become very popular. And so he was funded so that he could go against the ether. When you get rid of the ether after the 1920s, you call it now quantum. That's what people know this as. They're like quantum theory and this and blah, blah, blah. But once you remove the ether, you also remove pretty much the spirit aspect of everything. And this is what Steiner talked about, that there's the fifth element, the spirit aspect of everything. So Einstein was put in by the rock.
Interesting. I did see a post not too long ago. It was from the White House, and it was like something quite quantum mode activated. You know, how ironic is that? As much as quantum we used to hit on my intros. Let me find it so y'all know I'm not making this up. Quantum mode. Look, quantum ore. This is from the U.S. Department of Energy. Now, keep in mind, and it just so happened, all Tesla's documents went to who?
Warehouses confiscating all documents, some of which were given to a certain John G. Trump. Quite an interesting tale for another time.
So, what an interesting correlation. I want to hear your guys' thoughts below.
This prehistoric great white shark skull fossil is one of the most important shark fossils ever found on Earth so far. But it's not a normal great white. This is an extinct ancestor called Hubbell's white, named after Dr. Gordon Hubbell here.
The upper teeth were in place. The lower teeth were scattered as they rotted out, they fell out. So the animal died, belly out.
It helped us understand how great whites evolved from lesser whites, and the serrations here show how they slowly became fully serrated teeth as they eventually became the great whites we know today. Even finding one great white shark tooth is considered rare and hard to do, but this shark has 222 teeth along with its vertebrae. Found in Peru, this area is considered to have the best preserved shark fossils in the world, but the country is no longer allowing any fossils to leave the country, unfortunately. There are rumors of even some Megalodon jaws preserved here, so hopefully they allow researchers to safely study there soon. This is
I got a Megalodon tooth right here. He's saying he's got a Megalodon jaw? You know how massive that would be? If this is one tooth? You could probably fit a refrigerator through it.
This is actually just one small part of the greatest shark tooth collection in the world here. If you want to see the rest of Dr. Gordon Hubbell's collection, watch my full video here at my YouTube link just below.
It's that time of the day again. If you thought I wasn't going to hit you with another excellent specimen of the day today, think again. Feast your eyes on this tourmaline. It looks like a tourmaline on some type of quartz. And this is from Pakistan. Oh wait, what is going on here? They got a lot of crazy specimens. I don't know. Which one was your favorite? I'm going with the tourmaline that I was going to feature, but they hit us with a couple of them, didn't they? I like the glacier blue top on that one, and this one is extraordinary. This is unique. This gives me Terminator Fireworks. We'll give this one a quick 8.5, Terminator Fireworks. Then we go to the crystallized sea slug, 8.9. No, it was about an 8.4. But this is like a 9.2. 9.2, and we're going to call it the Tourmaline Peace Sign. I want to hear your ratings and your names in the comments below for each specimen, and which one is your favorite out of those. I kind of went crazy on the Terminator Fireworks, if I do say so myself. We all seen the movie Jurassic Park, but it sounds like they're really trying to work on it.
Extinction. By the year 2028, they want to de-extinct the woolly mammoth. And tonight, the startup Colossal Biosciences says they've successfully hatched nearly 30 chicks using artificial eggs. Yes, you heard that right. Here's a look at how they did it.
Oh, you're doing such a good job.
When I held the chick that came out of the artificial egg, what went through my mind was, this is amazing.
I mean, that is amazing. The goal is to use the artificial eggs to help de-extinct the moa, a bird from New Zealand that went extinct, are you ready? 600 years ago. Colossal Biosciences Chief Biology Officer Andrew Pask joins us now for more. Wow, what a story. I mean, this is incredible work that you guys are doing. Take us through how the process started, and how long it took to hatch that first successful chick.
Yeah, we've been working on this for a really long time now to try and perfect an artificial system that really recreates.
Look how massive this bird is they're trying to recreate. This is like a monster-sized ostrich, guys.
It's exactly what would happen during the normal egg when a bird develops. And the reason we needed to make this artificial egg is because we're trying to bring back this bird species, the moa that you mentioned before, which was a 12-foot tall bird that used to roam across the New Zealand landscape.
It's a giraffe and an ostrich mixed.
And it was hatched from an egg about the size of a football. And there's currently no birds today that produce an egg anywhere near that big. So we needed to work on creating this artificial egg environment that we could then use to hatch this species, but also we can use it for a whole host of other bird species that are critically endangered and struggling with reproduction and producing healthy offspring.
Yeah, it sounds like size matters on this one because the moa's egg, I understand, is about 80 times the size of a chicken egg. I guess that's why you needed to develop this technology.
Yeah, it's an absolutely huge egg. And so we had to really think very carefully about how we engineer this device. We needed something that was going to work just like a natural egg, but also that was really scalable. And so we had to work, with bioengineers, with mechanical engineers, with biologists like myself, to really try and understand these incredible properties that the egg has. So although an eggshell looks really solid, if you ever hold a chicken eggshell up to a really bright light, you'll see there's actually lots of tiny little holes all throughout it. And that's really important for gas exchange. So as that chick is developing inside the egg, it needs to exchange a lot of gases, it needs a lot of energy that it gets from the yolk, and we need to completely recreate all of that in our artificial egg system. And we really wanted to work on one that kept the process as natural as possible so that we could have really normal chick development right the way through until hatching. And so this whole process, we've been working on it for a couple of years from a design perspective to then actually putting in these early chicken eggs. And what we do is that the chicken will lay an egg and we bring that into the lab. And then we very carefully will cut that eggshell open and we'll put that egg straight into this artificial egg environment that then goes into an incubator. And then we can watch the whole process of development. And I think you're seeing the device now. One of the things we really wanted to engineer into this is this really big window that you can see on the top so that we can really carefully study that entire process of bird development right from the very beginning, right up until the end where you can see it starting to get little feathers and then eventually start to push through that membrane and hatch from the artificial egg.
And what's the timeline from beginning to end of trying to hatch a moa with an artificial egg? What's the timeline again?
Yeah, so moa's probably gestated for a couple of months. So we have, quite a long window, maybe 60 plus days that we would need to grow our little moa. These chickens that you're seeing here now are 3 weeks. So they take about 20, 21 days to actually go from the egg going into the device to then actually hatching a healthy little chicken out from that egg.
If you know, you know.
Because what was it, like last year or a couple years ago, they made the dire wolf, I guess, and we haven't heard too much about them. Who knows how big they are now? For all we know, they got them training with military night ops. That's kind of cool, actually. And what's up with these birds? They trying to make us eat this now instead of chickens? Someone in the comments is like, chickens is a genetically modified animal as well. We just was looking at pandas the other day. They're suspect. If a panda was a genetic experiment, why would they make it? Just for like a pet? And what about the red pandas? Because you'll see different style pandas. Like the red panda kind of resembles like a fox or like a raccoon. So did they mix like a panda and raccoon? How did that pop off? That's all we got for today's video. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button because I try to do these videos every single day. And I love to see you around here. And if you made it to the end, drop the code word in the comments so I know you're real and you really rock with your boy. The code word for today is strange experiments. Go ahead and drop strange experiments in the comments below. When you do that, that lets me know you're a real one. And I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I'm going to see you guys soon.